Welcome to Meet the Candidate. I'm Chris Clark, President and CEO of the Queen Creek Chamber of Commerce. Today we're joined by Tyler Hudgins, a candidate for the Santan Valley Town Council. Tyler, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Tyler Hudgins. I live in Santan Valley. I've lived there for about the last 5 years. Married to my wife, Kelsey. We've got 3 beautiful little girls, and that's a big portion of my life. Grew up in Gilbert originally. I was an Arizona native. I grew up here my whole life, spent my whole life here. I've been involved in the communities that I've been a part of, whether it's Gilbert or Santan Valley. I've always been the type of person that wants to be involved and not just kind of a passive consumer. And so that's led me to get involved in some different things. I've been involved in the downtown redevelopment district of downtown Gilbert for a time. I also owned a business down there as well. And then moving out to Santan Valley, we moved here. Some of the real estate market was pretty insane in the last few years. And Santan Valley became a good place to land and start growing some roots and calling it home and doing what I naturally do. I just got involved and started to be part of Santan Valley and helped with the incorporation effort of Santan Valley. I was the chairman of the incorporation effort. We had a team of 7 citizens that were part of that process and were ultimately successful, and it was a great thing.
And so why do you want to be on council, and what are you looking to do there? And you already serve on council?
Yeah, I currently serve as the vice mayor. There was a process where 85 applicants applied to be a part of the inaugural town council, and they narrowed it down to the 7. And so I've already been serving in this capacity and with the incorporation effort. My desire to serve was to continue the work that we had already done. It was one thing to get it across the finish line, to incorporate, to win the vote, but then to be a part of the next phase, to really set the foundation. And that was really important to me. You know, there's not many opportunities where you're at the birth level of a city, especially a city of 107,000. And so to be a part of the inaugural council and to have done a lot of the governing we've done over the last little less than a year has been a very enjoyable process of setting that foundation, and I'd like to continue to do that. The next phase is going to be really critical. This first phase was very critical in the sense of trying to get ready for the county handoff on July 1st and to have the important things in place to manage 107,000 people. But then this next phase is going to be looking at the next 10, 20-year vision for Santan Valley and putting together that general plan. And there's some things that I think I could be helpful with, and that's why I'm running for Santan Valley Town Council.
So what are those top priorities, and tell us a little bit more about what the general plan is? Yeah,
so some of the top priorities for me is public safety. Public safety was something that I pushed really hard for in this first year. We got a contract done, an agreement with Rural Metro, where they're their exclusive provider for 3 years. It gives them the opportunity to show that they can provide the fire services necessary for Santan Valley. And while we weren't in a position financially to do a master contract with Rural Metro, getting an interim agreement in the meantime was a way for us to advance public safety. I felt like the inaugural council, we couldn't avoid not addressing the public safety issue. We have 107,000 residents. We have 3 fire stations. And so part of this agreement is all of our fire trucks are going red in Santan Valley. And so they'll start to look more like a municipal fire department. We're getting an additional fire station. And we also got an additional ladder truck. And then the last thing is we got oversight of Rural Metro. Rural Metro is required to provide 2 reports annually to us as far as staffing levels, incidents, all that stuff. And so we're providing oversight with Rural Metro. So that's kind of the big ones that I'd like to look at the future is what does it look like for us on our fire side and our police side. The other thing is parks and pools. Residents in Santan Valley are tired of being a bunch of zip codes strapped together. They want to be a place called home. And in order to do that, there's got to be some public amenities. There's got to be spaces for us to be able to gather. And so being able to provide those community spaces, I think, is really important to bring our community together. And that looks like not just physical spaces, but it also looks like events, you know, maybe a community parade or whatever it might be. And the last thing I would say is a vibrant business community. Santan Valley, in order to succeed in its future, needs to have some serious economic development. And we need to be able to draw businesses into our area to provide jobs. People are tired of having to commute outside of Santan Valley. About 90% of our community commutes outward. What does it look like to have them work here? And what does it look like for families to be able to go to restaurants where you actually get a bill handed to you at the end versus just doing your credit card
register?
Yeah, at the cash register. So what does it look like to have those restaurants and the services that are needed? And so I think all of that will be my top 3 priorities.
So that leads right into economic development. Of course, from a chamber's perspective, we're always thinking about that. And you touched on it, 90% of the residents have to leave to go to work. What do you think can be done to help locate businesses, industry, jobs into Santan Valley?
Yeah, I think it's attracting large employers that can provide a number of jobs. And that's on the one side of the coin. But I think it's also, what does it look like for us to get flex space? There's many service-based businesses that are in Santan Valley that they operate out of Santan Valley, but they're driving everywhere else, and they don't have a physical place because we just lack the infrastructure. So what does it look like to attract that infrastructure and get that developed so that the businesses that are homegrown here in Santan Valley can start to have space that they can utilize? So that would be huge. The other thing is the urban core. So when I was part of the incorporation effort, one of the things that we worked really hard on with the state land department is getting 3,300 acres of what we call the urban core. And this is in the heart of Santan Valley. Initially, the state land department wanted us to remove that. We were not willing to go forward with the incorporation effort unless we got that, because we knew it was important for the economic future of Santan Valley. And so part of that general plan will be looking at how do we develop this urban core and create a downtown district where we can create the infrastructure for businesses to be able to thrive. And so that's going to be an important part of what we do going forward to utilize that land. And then look at other areas of how we can expand and provide some additional industrial and commercial.
And that land is located whereabouts in
general?
general?
Skyline, Ganzel would be kind of roughly, Post and Butte is about roughly where that 3,300 acres is.
And 3,300 acres in comparison, that's a big chunk of land.
It's a big chunk of land, which is why we were unwilling to remove it from the map during the incorporation, because a lot of the land has been platted and developed in Santan Valley, and so we knew that this was going to be a critical piece of our future. We weren't interested in getting incorporation done just to say we did it. We wanted to do it the right way, and that 3,300 acres was to do that and to set us up for success.
And so along those lines, if you can get the businesses to locate and start developing on those 3,300s, what's your strategy to manage the municipal budget in the meantime and ensure essential services are funded and minimize the tax burden on residents?
Yeah, so we have worked very hard to recruit a good team. The staff that we've put in place are our town manager, Brent Billingsley, Gabe Garcia from Coolidge is where he was doing as a financial director. He's now with us. And there's a number of employees. And we have been operating like the world's fastest startup. It's been amazing. As I've gone into the office, so when we toured it before, just after incorporation to look at the space, I remember us going in there and the whole room, you had opened the door and the room was dark. There was nobody in there. Desks were empty. There was no computer equipment. There was no people. But then I just went there last week. We had a bunch of meetings, and we're up to 10 employees. We'll probably be up to 14 here in the near future. And everyone's buzzing around, moving, and all that stuff. And so we've got a staff that's working very hard. We passed an interim budget to kind of get us moving forward. And we're working on our next budget for the 2026-2027 cycle. One thing I've emphasized as staff is I want us to have a large rainy day fund. And I believe the number is somewhere between 26 and 28 million we've put in there. And the reason for that is you look at 2008, when the economic downturn happened, that wasn't just a one-year event. That was like 3-year event or longer, but the initial impact. And a lot of cities were having to furlough employees, lay off employees. I never want to see our town in that place. I want us to be fiscally responsible. And then I also want to make sure that we plan ahead for those kind of events. COVID is another example. Sales tax is highly cyclical. It goes up and down with the economy. So what we need to do, as most cities rely on sales tax revenue, is we've got to plan ahead, and having that contingency fund is super important. And I also think the rural metro question is an important one to really benefit the citizens, because they're paying subscriptions to rural metro. 37% of our community is. Maybe there's ways in a master contract where we could eliminate or reduce that subscription fee to really give back money to the residents. And so looking at creative ways like that.
And along with that goes then, of course, infrastructure and traffic solutions. And growth has seemingly outpaced road capacity in Santan Valley, one of the reasons for incorporation. How would you fast track road improvements and work with the state and county to alleviate congestion? And what corridors do you think are the most important to get started on?
Yeah, so this was actually the reason why I got heavily involved in the incorporation. There was an accident up on Ironwood Road. This was before the 24 existed, when I first moved into town. And there was a gentleman whose car broke down, and a Good Samaritan pulled over to help him. And as this gentleman was walking across the streets, a Good Samaritan ends up getting hit. And he gets hit by multiple cars. And I remember seeing that news story and being like, how is it that on a 45-mile-per-hour road that this happens? And I realized there was 2 reasons. One, there's only 2 ways in and out of Santan Valley, main arteries, and that's Hunt Highway and Ironwood Road. And with 90% of your community going out all the time, there's a lot of people going through that. And they're also stressed, and they're driving really fast. They're treating it like a freeway, 60, 70 miles per hour. So that's the big reason. The second thing is there wasn't proper lighting. So with the streets at night, it's not a dark sky community, but a little bit darker with the lighting, and that created that issue. I think addressing our roadways is super important for our future. We hired Chris Wanamaker, who is over the roads in Santan Valley. He knows Santan Valley inside and out from his time at the county level. He's an excellent, smart individual. He's also an engineer. And so I think he's going to be vital as we do that. I think the general plan is going to be is important to that. We need to have more east-west connections, north-south connections. Skyline, we got to punch that through over the railroad tracks to provide more access. To me, it's just it should not be this way, where we have residents having to drive through neighborhoods. There's neighborhoods you have to go through just to be able to get to the roadway connection that you want to go to. That's not safe. In one of our communities, we had 3 kids in a matter of 3 weeks get hit by cars. And so that's something I want to address. It's also a public safety concern. Our fire department and our sheriffs, in order to get to a call, a road that should be going through where they could get there faster is now in the way. And so I would want to prioritize, like I said, those northwest, east-south connections. I think they're really important. Finding ways to alleviate Hunt Highway from all the traffic that it has on it. And then ultimately working with ADOT and our state leaders to get the proper funding that's necessary to continue the 24 and wrap it around our community to provide more connections onto the freeway. And then also our partnership with Queen Creek. Looking with Queen Creek to see how can we work together to address some of these roadway concerns in our area. We can't do it alone. Incorporation wasn't done alone, and I think that partnership and other partnerships at the state level will be important.
That's a lot.
It's a big topic.
That is a big topic, yeah. You mentioned the general plan a couple of times now. Mm-hmm. You also mentioned a sense of community rather than zip codes strapped together. So how do you use the general plan and zoning to create a community identity? And is there one, or how do you go about getting a distinctive character for Santan Valley?
Yeah. So I was part of the general plan update in 2020 for the town of Gilbert. And so I'm familiar with the general plan process. That document is super important to ask the residents of our community to say, hey, what do you want for Santan Valley's future? This is our town. This is something we've all been waiting for. For a number of years, residents have desired to be its own municipality. We were the 5th incorporation attempt, and they have wanted this so bad. And every time before this last one, they were denied that right, denied that opportunity for local control. And so bringing those residents to the table and saying, hey, this is the way we do this, the general plan. What do we want for our future? We get to decide. Nobody else gets to decide. And so getting that consensus from the community, what do we want for our future, I think is going to be extremely important. As for me, my overarching goal in everything that I do in my role, whether it was with incorporation or governing Santan Valley, is I want to see human flourishing for Santan Valley. Santan Valley's been overlooked for far too long. They have not been given the chance or the shot. And I have wanted to participate in giving our community that shot and that chance. And so I want to look at how does the general plan contribute to human flourishing in Santan Valley. And I think a lot of that is architecture. The way we design our city, the way we do things from a policy level, the architecture in our community, it influences culture. As a vice mayor of Santan Valley, as we have developers coming in, we're not just people who make policy. We're not just people who put projects in. We are culture shapers and culture makers. And I want us to really consider not just the dollar of, hey, I want to develop this and it's going to make the most money. But I want us to look at all of the components. How does this affect the way people live? How does this affect the way people flourish? How does this affect our community at large? I want us asking those questions. I think the general plan is the way to do that. I think zoning is the way to be able to do that. And I think those documents are extremely important to be able to influence what culture are we making. And that's my main interest in wanting to drive some of those initiatives forward.
That's good. Parks and Rec was also on your list.
Yeah.
So what's your vision for Parks and Rec, and can you have a program sometime soon?
Yeah. So I think there's real opportunities in front of us right now where we can start to develop parks. We aren't waiting. There is money in our budget for Parks and Recreation because there are some preliminary type things that we can start to develop and start to work on with that. As we move forward to what does it look like to have a regional parks in our community, and as well as pools. So I look forward to us having large parks with soccer fields, baseball fields, pickleball, dog parks, all that stuff. Something that I think we can do in the short run, because it's going to take some time to develop a park, and it's the price tag is large on that sort of thing. I think we can get a quick win by doing something like a splash pad. It's lower cost. It's something that can get a quick win for the community, that families can start to have a place to gather. I think that's something we can do out the gate, as well as while we're developing some of these other opportunities through Parks and Recreation. Which I also want to add on this. I just thought of this. The sheriff came and visited us at one of our town council meetings. And one of the things that he said, I asked him, I said, what makes the crime in Santan Valley unique compared to some of the other cities that you engage with? And he said it's juvenile crime. Juvenile crime in Santan Valley is large. In comparison to other areas, that's what stands out the most. And the reason is because our young people don't have things to do. And I think it's vitally important for any council or anybody who's going to be in this seat to really consider how do we provide what our young people need so that they can flourish as well. We went and visited an elementary school, and when you take that oath and you swear to protect and lead this community, sitting there in the elementary school, you're like, oh, it's not just the people that vote, it's the youngest, it's the young people that are in our community and really developing their future. And I think Parks and Recreation is a key piece to that.
And along with that then, how do you want to structure the town meetings and community engagement to ensure that residents and businesses are heard in this design phase, this startup phase?
Yeah, that's something that I've already prioritized. One thing that I pushed for was having a citizens budget committee that would be a part of the budget process. This initial one became a town manager's budget committee because we had a short runway to be able to pull it off. But we actually had 4 members of the community that were part of that committee, and they got to provide listen to the staff on what's the budget, draft budget, and then provide actionable changes to that budget for the town council to consider. And in our last meeting, that was presented from our town manager. And I think it was like probably 15 to 20 items that they suggested, which was very helpful. As the council, we're the representative leaders, but providing committees and opportunities for residents to be able to engage, I think, is just important. The other thing is we also started up another committee. Our first one for the town ever was the Interim Planning Advisory Committee, IPAC. And this was a placeholder for planning and zoning while we were still under the county's authority when it came to zoning, where they could review cases, submit a recommendation onto the council, and then we would submit a formal letter to the county. A lot of the problems that we've experienced in Santan Valley is commercial zoning being flipped into residential or multifamily, which is a problem when you have a lack of commercial zoning that's necessary. And so we had a committee in place of just residents that could be able to do that. And so for me, it's very important to have residents at the table. We also did a community event where we had about 80 residents come, and they were able to do live polling and respond to questions. We were able to do that. During our zoning process, we've been working on our zoning ordinance. We sent out 51,000 postcards to residents in the community, letting them know about that process. That was no small feat, and inviting them to come to our council meeting and voice their concerns. And all of this is something we're going to continue as we lean into the general plan into the future. So this is a very important, vital thing for our council.
Well, that's great. We appreciate the time that you've taken with us. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to get to?
Yeah, I'm just really excited for the opportunity to serve. It was humbling to have the opportunity to be a part of this, and I just want residents to know they have a great council that's been working really hard. They're very Santan Valley first and pro Santan Valley. And all of them I respect. All of them have a focus on what's best for the community. I've enjoyed working with Mayor Schnepp. He's been a joy to work with, a great collaborative partner. And so I love working alongside him. And then our staff, like I said, our staff is amazing. And what they've been able to do and accomplish in such a short order. I mean, we have directors that are running everything that and they're working hard and they're doing their best for the community. And so I think Santan Valley's best days are ahead of us. I think we're going to look back in 5, 10, 20 years, and we're going to be so glad that we incorporated Santan Valley, and that these were the years that the critical foundation was set. And July 1st will be our independence from Pinal County operationally. So we've been incorporated. There's some misinformation online that we're not incorporated. We are incorporated as of September 17th, 2025. But operationally, July 1st, Pinal County is going to hand us the keys and be like, no boomerang kids, like don't come back. And you're on your own. We're not paying for you anymore. And so July 1st at Poston Butte High School, we're going to have a drone show. And we're going to have sponsors and booths and community type event for us to be able to celebrate that moment together. And we're planning to unveil our logo through that drone show as well, which has also been citizen-led. We had a competition where residents were able to submit that. We had 100 some odd submissions, and we narrowed it down to 5, and then we just narrowed it down to 2. And that winner will get recognized as creating the first town logo, and we get a $2,500 check, and then we'll display it at this event.
That's great. Tyler, how do people find out more information about you?
Yeah, they go to tylerhudgins.com, Hudgins, HUDGINS.com, and I've got all my information on there. There's a contact form. People can reach out. And that would be the best way.
Well, again, pleasure meeting you. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us, and good luck on the election.
Great. Thank you.